Hey guys, tonight's going to be kind of a shorty little note, just reminding you of what you did in 5th grade. And we're going to go back to lesson for us, 3-5, and we're going to be dividing multi-digit numbers. Multi-digit, oh that's a word, D, numbers. Today's date is 9/18/19. Okay? So, first thing I want to tell you is that what you're going to see in these notes and for the practice tomorrow is going to be all problems where there is no remainder. Okay? Because what I want to discourage you from is to use the R to represent a remainder, because we don't do that anymore. That's what we're going to be doing in subsequent notes, is using a decimal point and continuing dividing until either termination, no remainder, or repeating. Okay? So today this is back to basics. So first thing we're going to talk about is the 3 parts to a division problem. Now, for me, this took 2 pages. Kind of had a blank at the bottom of one, but I needed extra room to do my division. So I did all the examples on the next side. I'm going to put a capital letter here. So on page 2. So I'll tell you when I'm on page 2. 3 parts to a division problem. So the first is the dividend. And he's the number being divided. And what I like to think of is when you divide, when you divide, it will be the end of the number. That's how I remember that one. Next, we've got a guy who's kind of in charge of the division. He's the divisor. So he's the number doing the dividing. Okay, and I think about him as being the supervisor of the division. He's calling the shots, okay? And then we end up with an answer, which is called a quotient. So that's the answer to a division problem. Now we have 2 ways of showing a division problem. But to do our division the way we need to do it, we're going to not have math fact division. We're going to need to always put it what people refer to as the division house. So what you're used to seeing is it written horizontally, 15 divided by 3, and then we'd get an answer or quotient of 5. But what we're going to change this into is we're going to divide 3, and here comes what we call the division house. It's like an L that's fallen down, and we put the dividend underneath, and then the quotient will go on top. Now, for the problems we're doing, we're actually going to get set more than one number probably in the quotient. Okay? All right, so putting into words, 2 ways. We have dividend divided by divisor equals quotient. And on the second one, I know I kind of crammed things over. Let's see if I can do a little bit of magic. I don't think I can. Nope, probably not. Don't worry about it. We'll be good. Is we're going to say divisor on the outside, so I'm going to shift him over a little bit. Then we're going to see the division house. Underneath is going to be the dividend. Oops, didn't quite spell that one right. Dividend. And the quotient will be on the top. Okay? So let's talk a little bit, real quick, briefly, about the division process, and then we'll put it into action. So in the division process, the first thing we need to do is divide. And what we're going to do is divide our divisor into the smallest part of the dividend that we can. So that's whatever digits it takes in the front of the dividend for our divisor to go into. And again, you're going to see that. All right, so once we pick a number that our divisor can go into our dividend, we're going to put that in the quotient. Then we're going to do a little multiplying step. So we're going to multiply. And what we're going to do is we're going to multiply that quotient number with the divisor. Okay? So now we have a product, and we're going to take that product and we're going to subtract it from the dividend. Now this is a step not everybody talks about, but what you need to do at this point is to compare. And what you're comparing is what is left over after you've done the subtraction. Is it smaller than the divisor? If it is, you had a good guess in your quotient. If it's not, if it's larger than the divisor, then that means you didn't guess a high enough number to go into your quotient. Okay? And then once we feel confident, yep, we picked a good number, then we're going to bring down. Now, actually, this is kind of two steps. So we're going to bring down the next digit in the dividend. And repeat the process. So basically, we go back to here. And we're going to keep this process going until we have no remainder, or we have repeating, or we have, repeating basically, or no remainder. Okay? So let's go to the next screen and let's practice two problems. I'm going to start with an easy one, and then I'm going to get a longer one. Now, they're both not too bad problems. They're just one gets longer than the other. So our directions are just going to ask us to divide. So again, we're on to the second page now. And so we have 8 being divided into 736. So what I'm thinking about as I'm going through this process is, can 8 go into 7? Nope, it's not big enough. So then can 8 go into 73? And the answer is yes. So what I'm going to do is take a guess. How many times does 9 go into 73? And what I should say is, oh, that's easy. That's going to go in 9 times. Notice that I wrote my quotient number above the last digit of the number I'm dividing into. That's very important. Now my multiplying step is 8 times 9 is 72. And then next I subtract. The difference is 1, and this is where I compare. Is 8 greater than 1? The answer is yes. Bam, we're going to bring down and carry on. So we bring down the 6, and then we say, okay, how many times can 8 go into 16? Well, that's a math fact. That's just 2 times. So I get a 16. I subtract. And this time, I have 0 as the remainder. So I don't even need to compare because I know I'm done. And that's my answer. Now, I can always double check to see if I'm right by taking my quotient and multiplying it by my divisor and see if the answer is my dividend. And it is. So I did a good job. One more. This one now has a double-digit divisor. And check this out. 5 digits in the dividend. Whew. So we're going to start it exactly the same way. Let's see, can 44 go into 5? No. Can 44 go into 54? Yes. So that's where I begin. This is how I keep things all lined up. So 44 goes into 54 one time. 1 times 44 is 44. We subtract. We get a difference of 10. That's smaller when I compare to the 44, so I'm good. So then I bring down. So I now have the 9. And how many times can 44 go into 109? So here's where you kind of, again, are guessing. So let's say, I'm going to try 3. Oops, sorry. So I try 3, and I get a 12. I get 12 and 1 is 13. Nope, too much. So try 2. And I get 88. Yep. So 3 is too much. 88, 2 is underneath, but that's good. We're going to keep that. So then we put a 2 over the last digit, which is the 9. And then we get an 88, since I did my math off to the side. And we're going to subtract, and we get a difference of 21. 21 smaller than 44, so now I just get to bring down. So I'm bringing down a 1. Now, when I do this math, I don't erase all these little multiplication problems I do off the side, because sometimes an answer that I get off to the side is going to help me solve the next part. So let's see. 4 goes into 25 times. I'm going to try 5 and see what that does. So 44 times 5. We get 20. We get 22. Ugh, too much, so it's got to be a 4. So we get a 16. 16 and 1 is 17. So that's what we got to go with. So we have a 4 up here, lining it up over that 1. We have 176. We subtract, rename. So we get a 5 here, rename. We get a 3 here. 35 is less than 45, or 44, excuse me, so that's good. So we bring down, change my blues. And we have a 2. Okay, so let's see. All my guesses so far, this is smaller. So let me think. 4 goes in at 35 about 8 times. So I'm going to try 8. So notice what I'm doing is I'm just looking at the first digit of that 2-digit divisor and looking into how many times it can go into the first 2 digits of the next number. So that's what can happen. And the other thing you should remember, you can only guess 1-digit numbers. Right? We can't have a 2-digit number that we put in our quotient. That doesn't make sense. So we get 32, 35. Oh, hey, that's it. So we're going to go ahead and subtract 352. And we have no remainder. So, oops, I didn't put my guess up in the answer. Got to put that up there. Let's give it a nice cherry green. How about that? 8. So this is my answer. And again, I could check it by taking 1, 2, 4, 8 and multiplying it by 44. So I get 32. 16 and 3 is 19. 8 and 1 is 9. 4 times 1 is 4. So I'm going to cancel those out, do this, and guess what? I'm going to get the same exact numbers again. 2, 9, 9, 4. Why? Because I'm multiplying by the same thing. So you get 11, 19, 14, 5. And yep, that's exactly what I started with. All right, have fun with this, guys. See you tomorrow.